Inspiring interviews with today's top landlords. This is the Rental Income Podcast. And now, Dan Lane.
Kevin, tell me what your thinking was when you first started buying rental properties.
So initially, the goal was to take real estate commission that I earned from being an agent and using my commission of selling real estate to actually purchase real estate. When I got enough money to saved up commission wise, I'd go and buy, a single family home. And it kind of spiraled over the past, let's see, 12 years. And you fast forward, it's grown into something a little bit more considerable. So that's initially what the plan was, is just, sell homes, collect commission, save, and try to purchase rental properties and build some type of portfolio.
Kevin's really got an incredible story. He got really good at his job, and he took his active income and turned it into rental income. And what's really remarkable is that he never had to borrow any money. He was able to buy rental properties with cash. And on the show today, we're going to figure out how he did it. Joining us on the show from Hobart, Indiana is Kevin Hutnik. We'll take a quick break to thank our sponsors. We'll come right back and we'll talk to Kevin. I've had tenants that have either broken their leases or stopped paying rent, and I'm sure you know this can be very expensive. It's very easy for the cost to exceed the amount of money you're holding for a security deposit, and because of this risk, I started using the guarantors to guarantee my leases. The guarantors protects your rental income against rent default, vacancy loss, lease breaks, holdovers, and more. And this is all at no cost to you. Your tenants pay for the insurance premium. If you want to learn more about their platform, check out my bonus episode from April 10th, 2025. It's titled How to Get the Rent Money Even If Your Tenant Doesn't Pay. If you're ready to sign up today, you can enroll within minutes by visiting theguarantors.com. Again, that's theguarantors.com. It's a lot of work to find a really good rental property, and when you actually find that property, you want to make sure you're working with a lender that can get that loan closed. The lender that I recommend is Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group. She's a nationwide lender, and her specialty is helping investors finance rental properties. She has a ton of loan programs, and she can find something customized to you for your situation. If you want to find out more or you're ready to get started today, just go to ridgelendinggroup.com. That's RIDGE lendinggroup.com, NMLS 42056. Investing in rental properties can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be. My friends at Mid-South Home Buyers sell completely rehab turnkey properties in both Memphis and Little Rock, and they've been doing it for 23 years. All their properties come totally rehab. They put on a new roof, new kitchen, new bath, new plumbing, new electric. Everything is brand new. They also have a tenant that's moved in before you close, so you get cash flow on day one. Mid-South Home Buyers also continues to manage the property for you after closing. It couldn't be easier. Everything is 100% done for you. All their properties also come with a couple of guarantees. They have a 1-year total maintenance warranty and a lifetime occupancy guarantee. Personally, I just closed on my 5th property with Mid-South Home Buyers, and I couldn't be happier. If you want to talk to a happy customer, reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions, or you can check them out at midsouthhomebuyers.com. Kevin, walk me through your thinking. You would sell a house, couple of houses, whatever, get some commission checks, you would save them, and then use that to buy a rental property with cash. What was your thinking in using cash? Like, would it have been easier to just save a down payment?
Sure. I think I'm a little bit more of a worrier. I worry about risk and overhead and things like that. And I was working for a company owner or a managing broker that had showed me the way to just pay cash. And he just taught me that cash is king, just a slow grow. Don't involve the banks. He would always say, cash is king, financing is queen, and debt is the joker. So I just always kind of stuck by that and just did a slow purchase when I could, and that was it, really.
And then did you have just a feeling of security knowing that no matter what happens, you can keep things going? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was flipping homes before that. So my first rental was purchased on a HomePath Fannie Mae site for 38,000, and it needed a roof. So I sent the roof guys over, cheap roof, and the roofer said, "Hey, I'll give you 60,000 for this right now." And I said, me being a flipper, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's a quick bang." But I'm like, you know what? I'm dedicated to this. I want to try it. I want to get my first one under my belt. So I said no. It hurt to say no. But that was kind of how it started rolling. It was, get something under my belt and try to keep the risk low, try to keep overhead low. And, you always hear people say, the bubble's going to burst sometime. And I've been hearing that for, 12 years now.
Right.
But, I just was so worried that I wasn't going to have income or no commission or anything like that. So I just told myself, hey, I'll pay cash. I won't have to worry about it. I don't have to involve the banks or underwriting or any of that stuff. And when I get enough money, I'll go buy a second one.
And so you mentioned about that property that was 38,000. Are most of your properties, like, did you get them like in that price range?
No, I mean, that lasted for a little bit. I got my real estate license in 2012, so it wasn't the crash, but we were slowly kind of creeping up. And I look back at that, and I mean, that home, I still own it. I still have the same tenants in it. But that home now, even like a foreclosed version of it or a HUD or a home path, is probably 150 to buy and probably 250 retail. So those $38,000 houses aren't around anymore. And I do have 5 that I had purchased in that subdivision, ranging from 29 at the lowest, and I believe, let's see here, I think 75 at the highest. And that doesn't even exist anymore. I mean,
right.
It's hard to find that. So now I'm purchasing rentals, and my most recent rental was a great deal, and it was 145 in my hometown here. So the mindset has definitely changed.
Right.
It's crazy that 145 is a good deal now, when just 12 years ago 38 was a good deal.
Right. So basically, you got really good at something. In this case, it was selling real estate. You became a really good agent, started making money, and then you were living below your means to save that money to buy more properties.
Correct. Me and my brother and my mom have a children's clothing store that we bought into in 2008. And I was working there probably 60 hours a week to just kind of keep that thing running. So I told myself, hey, any commission I get is just icing on the cake. I can live off of selling baby clothes. And, we'll see where this real estate stuff turns into. And, it grew quickly and it grew fast. But the goal was to save every penny I had from selling real estate to purchase real estate.
Wow. Okay. So you weren't spending any of those commission checks. Like, that was all going towards buying rentals.
No, I rewind to one of my final years at that brokerage. It was year 5 on that brokerage, and 2 conversations. The first conversation was my managing broker, and they used to have these little cubby holes that they put your checks in. He's like, "Hey, are you going to come and pick up these checks?" I'm like, yeah, I've just been really busy. He's like, "You have $60,000 in here."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Oh, I'm coming. I'm coming to get it."
Yeah.
And then the second conversation that same year was his wife, and I'm really close friends with them still to this day. She said, "Do you have any idea what you made in real estate this year?" And I said, "I have no idea. I've just been running my tail off,
right,
just trying to sell houses." She's like, "You made $751,000 this year."
Wow.
I'm like, what? Like, I'm doing this.
That's crazy. Wow.
As a side hustle, know. So those are 2 conversations that I'll never forget.
Yeah. So how many properties was that? Like, the year you made 750, how many houses did you sell?
I was there. I'm selling anything I could. I mean, people in my area, they're like, it's Northwest Indiana. They're like, "Oh, I don't mess with Gary, or I don't mess with Lake Station or East Chicago," which are typically, a lower price point. I told all my competitors, "Hey, I'll take any of it. If I can make a commission, I will sell it." So that year, my final year at the brokerage, we sold 242 homes.
Wow, 242 homes, and you're working full time at the clothing shop. Like, how did you have time to do that? Like, that just seems like a ridiculous amount of work.
Me and Holly looked at each other. Actually, the year before, I had sold 119 homes, and I basically told Bart, I said, I don't think I can do that anymore. Like, I need some type of system, because 119 was brutal. I don't remember anything. It was like every day I looked up, it was Friday.
Yeah.
So Holly's like, look, I think you aged like 10 years this year. And it was true. Like, my mind was so at capacity, and it's hard to explain, but like things that you remember as a kid that you would never forget, I was forgetting things. Like when I was in third grade, Kirk Gibson hit that walk-off home run in the World Series. I couldn't remember the team or the name. Like, I was just so honed in on work that I just had no more room for anything. Another story from that exact same year, I was on a cruise to Alaska with my wife. I had 42 pending deals at the time, and we lost Wi-Fi on the boat, and I had to go 7 days without Wi-Fi.
Oh my God.
With 42 pending transactions, and it was just, my phone lit up like a cherry when we got off the ship. But it was a crazy year, and I look back and I'm like, man, that was a crazy time.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta hand it to you that you're selling all those houses, you're working at the clothing shop, and you're living way below your means. I mean, if you're making $700,000 selling properties, like, you could have just been living like a king. Like, it's like, but it sounds like you were really focused, that you really wanted to build this portfolio.
I mean, I bought a car that year. My tax lady's like, look, go and buy you need some business expenses here. And I was driving around a Honda Ridgeline with over 300,000 miles on it. But you have to think, I had no admin or no processor. I was entering listings at night. I was doing price adjustments and Century Lock stuff. And you don't have time to shop for a car.
Yeah.
You don't have time to look at a car.
Right.
I mean, it was so crazy at that time. And the market only got crazier. I got out of that because I started my own company. But transaction wise, I mean, I couldn't even imagine how it would have been during COVID, because COVID, I don't know about the rest of the country, but here it was nuts. We were selling houses $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 over list, no inspection, with an appraisal gap that if it didn't appraise, the people would still buy it. So, 2020 was an amazing time for real estate, but unfortunately I wasn't in transactions anymore.
Let's talk about what you've done. So, like, how many properties do you have? Like, what does your portfolio look like?
Yep. So it's 48 income producing doors. So there are a couple multi-units sprinkled in there. There's some commercial sprinkled in there, but for the most part, my bread and butter is single family. I really enjoy single family.
And how many years did that take you?
The first one was purchased in 2014. So I stopped flipping homes in 2014, purchased that first one for $38,000. And I created like a buy box where I wasn't going to purchase in certain towns. I wanted to stay within a couple boundaries. I wanted to purchase homes only on a slab. I wanted no basements. I wanted, 3-bedroom or higher. So I was really picky. Unfortunately, being that picky, my second and third rental didn't fall into my lap until about a year and a half later, but they fell into my lap on the same week. So I actually purchased rental 2 and 3 on the same week.
So it's basically been since 2014. You've been consistently
about
buying
12 years. Yeah, about
12 years.
About 11,
Okay.
11 years.
And what made you want to stick with that buy box? What were those neighborhoods, just good neighborhoods? And
no, it didn't make much sense now that I look back at it. I could have bought anywhere because the entire area that we're in, every rental is great. In my mind, I just thought, hey, if I need to get to somewhere, I don't want to have to be going all the way across, the state to go fix something, which I'm not very handy at all. So I wouldn't be fixing it anyways, but it was just a limiting belief that I had that I just needed to buy in this box. Now, fast forward to 2025, I do have a few that are outside that box, if that makes sense. But at the time, I was nervous. I didn't have a lot of in savings, as far as, um, you know, to handle something if something crazy were to happen. I was just taking money from real estate and buying properties with it.
And then as the cash flow started coming in,
Sure.
did you reinvest that, or what were you using that for other things?
No, at the same time, my real estate brokerage was growing faster than I've ever seen, or faster than I could even imagine. And I was purchasing commercial buildings in every single town that were fixer uppers to house real estate agents. We grew from 3 agents to 650 agents. It felt like in a blink of an eye. So if we had agents that lived in a town next to me, I went and bought a commercial building, I rehabbed it, I made it nice, and recruited agents to work into that building. So at the time I was reinvesting, but I was purchasing commercial along with single family.
Okay. And with the properties you're buying, like say for the single families, were they all fixer uppers too?
For the most part.
Okay.
I mean, I had a lot of relationships with investors as an agent. They all trusted me to list their stuff after they fixed it. So it being in that network, they would just say, "Hey, look, I got something that as you know, investors either have a lot of money or no money, depending on the month,
Right.
and depending on closings go. So these guys always have extra stuff, and I would just gobble it up. So, my second rental, that's that 2 and 3, I had on rental 2. I found I was getting ready to purchase, and I actually went to Hooters for lunch with some investors that I worked for as an agent, and they said, "You couldn't believe this, like." This guy turned down this home in Villa Shores for $29,000, and we purchased it for 16. But he was mad because we purchased it for 16 and 1 in 29. And my ears perked up. I said, "Look, I can't find anything on the MLS for 29. I'll take it. I don't even have to see it." So I actually purchased my third rental at lunch without seeing it.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's take a look at your numbers here. I'm really curious to see how the numbers work on your portfolio. So, on an average month, like where maybe, you have a vacancy or two, how much rent do you bring in every month?
Net is about 50, gross is about 35. You do have, insurance here. So for a single family is about 2,000 a year. Taxes are 2% of assessed value. That's considerable. Then I have property management, which is 10% of gross rents. So if you take out 15 of that, I'm about 35,000.
35. And that does that include repairs that come up too?
Repairs, we were talking earlier, range. I would say on average, if you take the whole year and split it up, I would say 1,500 a month.
Okay.
There are months where trees fall, that gets expensive. The first cold month, you're out for air conditioning calls. For furnace calls, and then your first hot month, you're going out there for air conditioning calls. So I would say on average, it's about 1,500 in repairs.
Okay. So all in, so you're bringing about 50,000 a month in. You have about 15,000 a month of expenses on average, including everything. So your profit is about 35,000 a month.
Yes.
And what I think is incredible too is, so you've got great cash flow, but the last 12 years, we've had a lot of appreciation. Have your properties appreciated a ton?
Yeah. So, I mean, these homes that were like the one we just talked about that I purchased for 29,000 at launch, that's probably a $200,000 home on the MLS right now. The $38,000 home was in the same subdivision, but it's got a bonus room and a garage. That's probably 250. So quickly, a lot of that stuff has really appreciated.
Right. Now, so, obviously
doubled in the 10 years.
So, I mean, obviously you're doing great. And, I can't give you advice on how to do things better because, I mean, what you did obviously worked. But with the appreciation that we've had, if you had used loans, like say if you put down 20% on each property, I mean, you would have made 5 times as much. Like, do you ever think about that?
Oh, I think about it. Trust me. I just stumbled upon DSCR. I just did my first DSCR home about 2 months ago, and I wish I would have knew about DSCR when it was 3% interest. Now it's 7, but yeah, I thought about that. The problem is you don't know what you don't know. I mean,
Right.
I could also go back and say, oh man, I wish I would have purchased every home that was 30,000 because I would
Right.
have, but
Right.
at the time I didn't have the money and I didn't have the knowledge that I just, for me, I can say that I have a great mentor and a great mentor. But he taught me to buy it cash. So that's all I
Right.
really knew. I didn't
Yeah.
really, I've heard people talking about the Burr method, and I'm really, I guess, well versed on the Burr method now, probably in the past 5 years. I just, I guess I also I put a value on the time that I have to put into it and the stress.
Hmm.
I'm not paying mortgage payments. I'm not worried about any of that stuff. I just open the mailbox,
Right.
So
Right.
I
Yeah.
would have loved to get 5 times more. And there are people that work way harder than me and put way more time into it and thought and processes. But for me, I'm just a lot more simple. I'm not the most exciting investor that you're going to find.
Right.
That's
Yeah, I mean it's exciting though. I mean, I think you're making 35,000. I mean, everything you've done to me is very exciting. Just seeing that this is possible. Now, what made you want to do a DSCR loan? And actually, before you answer that, why don't we explain what a DSCR loan is?
sure. So it's gonna sound crazy, but I really like TikTok. I actually found it on TikTok. I saw TikTok and I'm like, that can't be real. And then I called my loan guy. He's like, it's absolutely real. People have been doing it for a long time. I'm like, I had no idea. So it's DSCR stands for let's see here.
Debt service coverage ratio.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that's what it stands for. It's basically a loan based on market rent. If the market rent exceeds your mortgage, your taxes, and in your insurance, that's part of the qualification. So there's three basic qualifications for me, at least in this area. You need 20% down. You need a credit score above 600, and it needs to have a higher market rent than those three expenses combined. If those three things happen, you're approved. It can close in about 10 days. There's no underwriting, there's no tax returns, there's no this or that. There's not a lot of hoops to jump through. It was really easy, and I was very skeptical. Every single time a step would come to do, I'd be like, any minute, this is going to prove to me why I've never done this. But it was great, and I can't wait to do another. I actually just called some investors this morning and said, hey, I'll be ready for my DSCR number 2 in about a week because the first one is almost finished.
It's really interesting that you're saying this because like this really kind of contradicts everything you just told us in the last
100%.
few minutes, right?
Yeah. So for me, I would say that this portfolio with appreciation is really gotten to about 9.3 million in paid for property. The DSCR thing for me is a little easier at the moment because I just built a new home and new construction has gotten insane. So every single month I was paying the builder a draw, 100,000, 150,000. So for me at this time, cash flow is a little bit lower, not cash flow, but reserves, I guess. And I paid cash for my new home. DSCR makes sense for me. And it also makes sense for me because I pass up a lot of deals. I really do. If I don't have it in a safe place to buy the next rental, I basically pass on great deals to friends, which is fine. It helps them out. But I pass on probably 30 deals a year just because of my first way of thinking of, hey, buy it when I have the money for it.
Right.
This can help me scale a little bit. My thought is having a cash portfolio and keeping it that way and not refinancing or anything. And then I'll just do another DSCR portfolio where I can grow a little bit quicker, but keep that as a separate portfolio.
Yeah.
So that's the thought so far.
And I think you're very safe too. I mean, it's like you have so much cash flow that if a property isn't making money, it's not going to take you down. I mean, you've got such a buffer there.
Well, I think there's a lot of people like this that grew up just dirt poor with no money, and you don't ever want to go back to that. So I think I'm extremely gun shy. I'm extremely passive. I'm not what you would call an aggressive investor. That's for sure.
Yeah. All right. So to summarize what you did, you got really good at something. In this case, it was real estate sales. You became really good at it, and you had 2 jobs. You saved all the real estate money and then used that to buy rental properties, and the rental properties then generated even more money, and everything just kind of snowballed from there.
Correct.
Today, Kevin owns a real estate brokerage in Northwest Indiana called Listing Leaders. If you're looking to invest in that area and you want to connect with Kevin's company, I've got a link to his website on my website. You can find it at rentalincomepodcast.com/episode 524. I'd like to thank Chaley Ridge from Ridge Lending Group for sponsoring today's episode. Kevin mentioned that he's using DSCR loans to fund his rental properties today. If you want to learn more about DSCR loans, definitely reach out to Chaley. She does them all day, every day, and you can track her down at ridgelendinggroup.com. NMLS 42056. Thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. Make sure you hit that follow button. I put out a new episode every single Tuesday, and if you're following the show, you'll get notified when the next episode comes out. My name is Dan Lane, and this has been the Rental Income Podcast.